ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sex and Suicide Podcast. We are here with Lee Thibeault. Thibeault. I always get that wrong.
It's French.
Very special guest for this evening for our Mental Health and Motivational Monday podcast. And Lee's got an incredible story for us. And let's just talk about how we met, because this is kind of crazy. The universe obviously wants us to have this meeting.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it's we met through today. Actually, getting connected through a mutual friend.
Another female. We don't have to use names. We'll just say.
But actually, Sean and I go all the way back to Sault Ste. Marie when I was going to school for college to become an aircraft mechanic.
Yeah.
And Sean was going to school
to be a pilot
in aviation.
Yeah.
And so we actually we recognized each other being in my home. Things really clicked for me to realize that, wait a second, I know who you are. I know exactly who you are. We met a long time ago. You know, we have a history all the way back in Sault Ste. Marie when we were much younger.
The crazy thing is that we met through the woman that I was dating at the time, and you knew their family.
Yes.
And then and we went to the same college. And then obviously there was a little bit of noise, as you call it.
Oh yeah,
we were twin brothers started dating her after I dated her. Kind of
basically, yeah. Oh yeah.
And so obviously there's the old boyfriend, current boyfriend tension.
Yeah.
Right. And so you were sticking up for your brother, obviously.
Yeah.
But I always
sides.
Yeah, fair enough. And then obviously we're now introduced to another woman here in London.
Yeah.
The last time I saw you, you're boxing, you're doing your thing, you're doing your aircraft structure training in Sault Ste. Marie, and you're walking, right? This is a change. The first I've seen you in this condition, right?
Yeah, absolutely,
And then now all of a sudden, I didn't even know you lived in London. Same guy, and I'm here in your apartment through another female.
Yeah,
that has, it's just kind of crazy how this is.
I couldn't believe it once I recognized you, because obviously as we age and the looks change and the beard, and you didn't have a beard when I first met him. Clean shaving pilot.
I couldn't have a beard when you first met me.
He had to be clean shaving
and wear a tie.
So. And he wasn't this buff, now he's jacked up.
I was drinking way more. Obviously, as a pilot, that's what we're known for. The gym wasn't as big of a priority.
Gym wasn't a priority. And I heard the was very aggressive piloting program as well too. I heard the guys were all the way through the summer doing hours and flying and studying, and they were very strict about that uniform and showing up and punctuality and all that stuff with that program. So
absolutely,
so that made sense.
So for someone that myself, as most of our viewers know, I've openly discussed my anxiety disorder and depression. Originally, when I told my story, I said, I was flying aircrafts being on Effexor, which is an anti-anxiety medication, being on lithium for a point in time, and as you know. It's probably not the best move for a pilot to be on.
It's not the best move for a pilot being on those medications. Right. They have all these tests and requirements because of altitude. Altitude is a very it could be a dangerous thing.
Sure, absolutely. And so I was kind of trying to hide that. That was my big secret. And finally, when I started openly talking about it and talking about depression and anxiety as much as I do now, it's funny because a lot of it's gone away, or at least I've learned the coping skills to get through it quicker, right? But we're here to talk about you tonight, and all the stuff that you've gone through. So this is great because it's an old connection that's kind of been revived. But you're obviously not the same Lee that I remember. So why don't you just tell me?
I'm a little bit shorter now. So.
Well, that's going to happen to me with age too, right? Yeah. So let's talk about what happened and what led up to everything that you've experienced.
Well, it was a very. I'd like to start off with to say, like Sean was saying about me being a boxer and mechanic and all this stuff. I was living what I would call the perfect life. Everyone we go through society and we're looking to go through education and get that dream job, the job that we love, and make money and buy all the fun stuff. And so I was living the perfect life. I was working at Air Canada Jazz as a mechanic, and I was fighting almost every other weekend, and I was staying in shape and boxing, and I loved it. It was the sport for me. I love that sport more than anything, and I really loved my job. And then living here in London, and getting my first vehicle with working hard and overtime at work, And then me and my twin brother sharing a nice motorcycle. We had a nice sports bike motorcycle that we had together since high school. And so it was honestly the best summer day, June 25th, 2013. It was absolutely the best summer day. I just finished washing my car, and then my twin brother asked to borrow the car to go with a fellow friend to go grocery shopping. So I thought, you know what? Well, then I'll go for a motorcycle ride. I'm going to take the motorcycle and go out riding. It was such a beautiful day. And so then I cleaned up the bike and I got all my gear on and I took a photo. Actually, I took a photo of the jacket I was wearing with the Superman symbol, and it was very it was a very cool Joe Rocket jacket, and we put the Superman symbol on it and had all the gear and everything like that. And so I went for a ride. Beautiful summer day, and then my life changed when I came around a corner, heading home. I was coming down the highway and then turning onto the one-way street that I resided on, and I was confronted by a vehicle coming the wrong way down that one-way street.
Oh shit!
And so my body, panicked. I thought I was in the wrong. Actually, when I saw the vehicle, I thought I was going the wrong way.
Right.
And so I tried to avoid the head-on collision because I believe the head-on collision would have absolutely life would have been it would have killed me.
Yeah.
And so I avoided the head-on collision and got struck in the rear end of the motorcycle, and I went diving into a curb head first, and then it went slow motion. When I went over the handlebars and I saw myself going into that curb, everything was in slow motion. And as soon as my head touched the concrete, I was already looking down at my fingers through my visor. Helmet was still on, and I couldn't move. I was frozen. I could just look down at my fingers, and the only thing I could feel, I felt absolutely nothing. The only thing I could feel was my teeth. I had some teeth hanging from my mouth. I could feel my teeth hanging from my mouth, and so I just started to get frightened. But it felt like seconds that this woman was already speaking to me. And it turns out she happened to be a nurse who witnessed the incident, and she turned around on the highway and came to my aid immediately, which honestly saved my life.
Wow.
She was there immediately. Wow. And she started talking to me, and I started talking back, and I started getting upset, and I was very scared, and so I was talking, I was coherent, and she was asking me all kinds of questions. I'm saying my name, I'm telling her where I lived and everything, and then I told her, as soon as I told her I couldn't move anything. I couldn't move. She knew immediately that there's potentially a spinal cord injury there.
Right.
So she made sure anyone that came into scene, more first responders started showing up. People wanted to roll me over and ID me, and she didn't let anyone touch me because she knew it's very, very fragile when it comes to a spinal cord injury.
So are you face down?
So I was face down, so I can't see anyone. It's just dark.
You just heard her voice.
I just heard her voice. I can't. I've never seen her face for the life of me. And I just hear all this noise start coming up from every blind spot, and I'm face down and I can't move. And then I'm hearing sirens. I'm hearing people talking. And then all of a sudden, I don't remember the ambulance ride. I must have blocked out. I started to get very emotional and very frightened. And so I think I definitely blocked out. I remember hearing my twin brother. The apartment was so close. He knew that it was me. He could feel it? He could feel it.
Really?
He knew when he started hearing sirens, this and that. He had come back from his trip to the grocery store and everything, and he knew immediately. So he came running down. And it upsets me because they didn't let him on scene to be with me, so he was yelling from afar, and I knew it was him. And so I was yelling back, and then they didn't let him go into the ambulance ride with me, which was,
really?
And that's where I blocked out, and it would have been nice to have him there because you never knew what the consequences of this catastrophic accident.
Sure.
And so but I do remember getting, pulled into the hospital, and then all of a sudden I'm laid down on a hard table, and they're just chopping everything off. They're chopping everything off. And this team was absolutely wonderful. When they say, when they talk about our medical system here in Canada, and I know there's certain areas that could definitely use a reformation, but when it comes to, catastrophic accidents like this and crashes, this team was so good to me, and they spoke just absolutely well to keep me calm. And they slowly inched the helmet off as they were putting the neck collar on, because they automatically assumed the neck was broken, which sure enough, it turned out the neck was broken.
Really?
And so then my twin brother, he showed up in the room, and he got talking to me, and I told him I said, Jay, don't tell anybody. I'm going to be just fine. You know,
right.
And supposedly he held himself together, but he was an emotional wreck. He's
sure.
my twin brother.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, of course, as soon as they took hold of me and he signed some paperwork, because I couldn't sign anything, I couldn't move, for them to put me under anesthesia and start doing surgeries and this, and get me into MRIs and see what's going on before I get into a surgery, knowing that, because immediately right away, the foot, my left foot was what's called degloved.
Right,
It was almost torn. The foot was almost torn right off the leg.
Wow.
And so they were asking my twin brother immediately if they could amputate, and he didn't want to make that decision.
Right,
so he wanted to call mom right away, right? Call mom.
Right.
And so he didn't tell me that my foot was hanging off. I couldn't feel it.
Right, sure.
So he just went into the hallway and he had a breakdown, and he supposedly called my mom right away and told her that I had been in a horrific accident. And so...
yeah, take your time, man. That must have been hard for your mom, for sure. Yeah. It's okay, buddy. Take your time. Take your time, man. It's probably hard to relive that whole experience.
Yeah.
What is it right now that's making you emotional? Is it your feeling or feeling your family?
Family.
The family, like what they were feeling?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, when that...
no one wants to hear that about the person that they love so much, right?
No one wants to get that phone call.
No.
You know, because you want to know everyone's doing fine, right?
Yeah.
And you're always calling back, and everything is always fine.
Yeah.
And you tell yourself, you know, everyone believes. We get this whole thing in our heads where it's never going to happen to us.
Right.
You know, people think you're never going to get stabbed, you're never going to get shot, you're never going to break your neck, you're never, you know.
Yeah.
And so when that phone call goes home, you know, when you think life is going good for everyone,
sometimes it can just...
It's just an overwhelming feeling, right? And so that's what upset me most is when family found out that I had been, you know, catastrophically injured.
See, that's amazing, because you're so empathetic towards how they were feeling. It's like you didn't want them to be upset for you.
That's what it was.
Right.
You know, that's absolutely what it was, because so then sure enough, I knew it was bad was they put me under anesthesia, and I was off for surgeries, multiple surgeries. So going through the list, I fractured my jaw, and so my teeth, they pushed my teeth back in and braced them. I fractured C1, C2, so they cut in the front, and the surgeon put a screw in to stabilize the neck. And then there were 6 vertebrae in the back that were fractured, and 2 vertebrae that burst. It was the one burst fracture that had touched the spinal cord, which has left me a paraplegic from about the nipple line down.
Wow.
And then there was the amputation that actually came a few days after. My mom asked the surgeons to save my leg, you know, because you know, she's a mother, and she didn't want to see her son. You know, she gave birth to me, and I had all my limbs, right, all the parts and everything was together. She didn't want to see it go. Right. So she begged them for them to try and do surgery and save it. And the most wonderful thing, they actually tried to save the leg. Yeah. They actually went in and brought me in for another surgery and ran lines and everything and tried to save and get the circulation back. But because there was so much catastrophic damage and the neck and the back were the priority, that the foot unfortunately failed. It started to get infected. The circulation was out the window. Right. And so then I got to make the decision about 3 days later to go with the amputation. Right. But before then, when I got out of the surgeries, the first surgeries, when I woke up from the anesthesia, and supposedly I had been under for about 48 hours, you know, like just in surgery for about 2 days, right. You know, and just under anesthesia for the traumatic experience and everything. When I woke up, I knew it was bad. Yeah. Because then that's when I saw my family. Right. And so when I saw my family that had flown from all over the place, my aunts and uncle from Texas, I had family from all the way from Sudbury and all over. And so once I started doing the math, thinking how long this would take for people to travel around. Right. One, I knew I'd been in surgery for some time, and then 2, I knew it was bad. Right. I knew it was bad, but you know, your mind does amazing things. My mind encouraged me to stay, you know, to stay strong, stay strong and positive, and tell myself that I'm going to get out of this situation. You know, that it's okay. You know, that I'm pretty banged up, but I'm going to be okay. Right. Well,
did that happen right away, or did that take some time? Like you said,
that happened right away.
Right away, even though you saw your entire family kind of sitting over you,
I knew it was bad.
You immediately thought, you changed your thought process.
My thought immediately in hospital was, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Yeah. You know, it's You know, because you don't think, like I was saying, this is not supposed to happen to me,
right?
So I'm going to be okay.
But you knew you were alive, and you knew
I knew I was alive. I'm breathing. I'm looking down. I saw my whole body was there at the time, and so you know, I just had a neck collar on. I just knew. I thought I was in shock, and I didn't know what the outcome. Actually, it was the accident was. No one gave me, you know, the outcome.
They didn't tell you right away.
No one told me.
Did you try to move your body at all?
I tried to move as much as I possibly could.
What could you move?
I couldn't move anything.
Really?
I was initially paralyzed from the neck down because of the neck break.
Right.
The swelling in the neck put pressure on the cord.
Right.
And so by doing that, it disrupted the central nervous system, which controls, you know, the correlation between the mind, the brain, and the rest of the body.
Right.
And so because that was disrupted, I was quadriplegic for about the first 72 hours.
Wow.
Before I started feeling my fingers, and then I was starting to clench my fingers, and there was an absolute nerve pain in my hands, like a numb pain in my hands that started to return.
Right.
So then once I saw...
Is that like, I mean, obviously this is probably a bad example compared to what you went through, but is that like when your arm falls asleep and then starts waking up again? Kind of
and
more
it's
intense?
like needles, more intense.
Well, of course,
just like where it falls asleep like badly. So it was like that consistently for quite a few days actually.
Was that a good feeling at that moment?
It was a good sign.
Right.
Because I thought, okay, you know, I'm falling out of this shock and things are starting to move, and I'm just, you know, I need to relax and just be calm.
Man, I can't imagine.
And so sure enough, things are starting to return in my upper half. I'm starting to move my arms and stuff, and I'm signing off on papers, and I'm shaking people's hands when they come in to see me, and I say, oh, goodbye, and I'm shaking hands again and everything like that. But then the movement stopped at about my chest.
Right.
And so no one gave me the prognosis that I had taken a spinal cord injury at that time. Some family members found out in the hallway. So that's where I feel sorry for them, you know. And I think about it, I have a really good friend. His name's Jeremy, and he's just been such a good friend to me and my family. And I have a lot of amazing friends. I can talk a lot of them. But he was there with my family, and he was in the hallway when the doctor told my mom that, you know, that I was never going to walk again, that I had taken a spinal cord injury. So
what was her reaction? I mean, I just can't imagine receiving the news, first of all, about I mean, I have a daughter now, also in Sault Ste. Marie. But like, if I got that phone call, like and like you said, I mean, you're feeling for them. It's like, so you're just like, I don't want them to feel this way, and what they're feeling must have just been, I can't imagine. I
can't believe that, you know, supposedly some people fell apart in the hallway.
I believe that.
I've heard the stories after. I didn't get to see that, because then everyone around me, it's now a game of showing that everyone's okay.
Right.
Because then when mom comes back in, she's all cleaned up, and she's not going to tell me. She wasn't ready to tell me yet.
Right.
But she stayed strong to not fall apart when she's now looking at me in the bed.
Jesus. So so everybody in the hallway is now, so whoever is kind of falling apart isn't allowed to come see you at this point. It's just the people that gather their shit for a minute
and keep it together, because they didn't want me to.
So there's a secret that's being held.
There's a secret from being held just to protect me from my emotions.
Absolutely.
You know, to protect me from my own emotions, because it was, you know, it's not something you want to hear. You want to hear. You know, you want to hear all the good things. You want your family to tell you that you're going to be just fine. You're going to, you know, this has happened to other people, and, you know, they've gotten up and walked out of this situation, but you've broken a lot of bones. You need to relax and calm down, this and that. So those are the things I wanted to hear.
Right.
You know, as much as they knew what the result was, they were telling me other things to keep my mind from me, you know, being really hurt emotionally.
Right.
To get that news, you know. So which helped me survive, because at that time I was in critical care.
Right.
Critical care is where not a lot of people make it, and supposedly from the night that the time that I spent in critical care, I was one of 2 or 3 of the only survivors that made it from critical care to the trauma unit.
Wow.
There were some other horrific accidents in there, and a lot of people don't make it out of critical care.
So is there a part of you that thinks that maybe if someone had said, hey, we're sorry to tell you, you're not going to walk again, that you might have just shut down? And maybe,
absolutely.
Really?
It's amazing what the brain does when you go through an experience, and what my brain's telling me every day, and waking up, and And time disappeared. I didn't know. I couldn't tell you the time because I was in and out of falling asleep and tired and medication and drugs. So I didn't know if it was night or day. But my mind was telling me, you're going to be okay. That you just need your rest and everything. And I do believe when you're given such devastating information that it absolutely, the body, if the body wants to, I survived the surgeries. The doctors told me after the fact that for as much, damage and traumatic injuries and the catastrophic accident and everything, that majority of people don't survive these things.
Absolutely.
Like this is, one in whatever. That for the damage that I took, they said that I was in really good shape to be able to survive it. Just to survive the surgery room. Once they start opening you up as well too, right? That it's once you start opening the body up, that's more damage. That's more injury. They're cutting and this and that. So if the heart wants to survive, it's going to survive. Based on what the brain is doing as well too. So that's where when I woke up and I was given some encouraging information and getting through critical care and then making it the trauma unit and then getting through the trauma unit and then making my way over to Parkwood Hospital here in Parkwood Rehabilitation Hospital here in London. It saved my life. Because I also suffered with pneumonia while I was in critical care or trauma, and so I ended up getting pneumonia, and so things could have went very south if I had to let my mind get the best of me. If I had given up, it could have been very easy to let go and for the heart to no longer want to do what it wants to do and help the body and pump the blood and everything. And so it was, it's just a big shock to the body. And so it was devastating. It was absolutely devastating. But
I can't imagine, man. And I'm so sorry you went through that. Especially, hearing this the first time, you usually think when it comes to motorcycle accidents, usually someone's at fault. A lot of the time, either the motorcycle's going too fast or whatever, but this is actually a car going the wrong way down a one-way street that fucked your life up, for lack of a better word. Forever. I can't imagine.
It was, and it's also a hit-and-run driver, so a person that they've, that's...
Are you kidding me?
So
they just took off?
So they just took off.
Oh my God,
so it's no one to be found as of right now. That's the situation. I'm not the first to ever experience something like this. So that's what that person's gonna live with. That person behind the wheel probably imagines that I died because supposedly the sound of the crash was so loud, and then for the blood from the foot almost being torn off across the asphalt and just all the debris. They couldn't imagine anyone had survived, and according to paramedic statements as well too, they believe that the blunt force trauma was caused by potentially my body slapping up against the hydro pole. So that's what they believe, the blunt force in breaking all my ribs on the left side, which then put all that energy into my spine and breaking all those vertebrae in the spine and hitting a pole. So it was, it was something. It was life changing, and people say, it happened in a handful of seconds. And you all want to believe, everyone wants to believe that it's never going to happen to me. Well, I told myself that, and sure enough, I got on a motorcycle. I was wearing a helmet, just my motorcycle jacket, jeans, running shoes. I never wore riding boots that protect your feet from things like that happening, or gloves or anything. So that was the aftermath of not wearing all of the proper motorcycle gear that could have potentially saved my foot. And that it only took a handful of seconds. It took a handful of seconds to be catastrophically injured, and now disabled as a result of that. So that's where,
in your defense, though, there's lots of men. We're both the same way. You have a lot in common, right? But we all want to think we're invincible. We all want to do these drive motorcycles, live in the fast lane, right? Going back, just before you keep going with your story, going back, if you could go back in time, would you still get a motorcycle?
If I go back in time? Well, the more we finish the story,
I'm just curious.
No, I wouldn't change anything.
Really?
I wouldn't change anything. Where I am in my life now as a paraplegic, I wouldn't change anything.
Okay. Let's move forward. So you can tell me
that everyone can understand that I can make that bold statement that I wouldn't change that incident and being a paraplegic with a spinal cord injury and sitting here for you in a wheelchair. So as we move forward, you'll understand why.
Okay, well let's continue then. I'm on the edge of my seat. Yeah, so keep going, buddy. Right now we're at the point where you're just finding out what happened, and you've unfortunately I can't even tell, but you've lost. You don't have a foot now,
so I lost half a leg. So this is a prosthetic leg. I have a socket here that fits what's called the stump. So they did so mid shin is where they amputated, and that's where they grab all the muscle and pull it all the way up. And then you have a distal end of your stump for the bones in your leg, and so the foot is totally gone. So this is just a prosthetic leg. So this one's my leg filler. I actually have a walking leg for walking therapies and robotic exoskeleton technology, and then I also have a pool leg as well too. That's waterproof. So I got 3 legs. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like it's like having watches or purses.
You have accessories. Yeah. Okay.
So,
all right.
So yeah.
Well, I can see it now. So then what's the next step? Like, how did you, when you found out, like who delivered you the news that you were not going to be able to walk again?
So
was it a doctor?
It was a doctor. It was a young surgeon or a young a junior. Whatever they call them, intern or a resident, that broke the news, to tell me based on all his education. So he gives it to me very straight, you know, he gives it to me from textbook. And so because that's all he knows.
Right.
And so he told me that I had taken a spinal cord injury. And so I didn't know what that was. I didn't know anything about spinal cord injuries.
Sure.
I've never even met a person. I don't have any friends. I didn't have any friends, nor did I ever meet someone who had a spinal cord injury. All we know of from spinal cord injury was like Christopher Reeves or Rick Hansen.
Right.
Those are the only people I could honestly think of when it came to spinal cord injury.
Sure.
And so he broke the news to me, and so I was like, well, like, can that heal or whatnot? And so he gave me that spinal cords don't heal.
Right.
You know, that it's the damage is done, basically, and that there's a 1% chance of regaining any feeling or movement in the legs.
Jesus. So what was your mindset at that point?
It was
did you start crying?
I went into denial.
Really?
I went into denial. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe a single word he said.
Right.
Because I had a different thing in my mind of what was going on. So my mind just went into denial immediately. And I had my mom there, I did have a little bit of an anxiety attack.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
I cried to mom, and I told her that I didn't want to be paraplegic. I didn't want to live life with a spinal cord injury.
Right.
I couldn't. And that I wasn't meant to be a paraplegic, and I'm not going to live a life with a spinal cord injury.
Sure.
So I had my breakdown with my mom, but I stayed in denial. I said that I'm going to get out of this, and my mom encouraged me too that I was going to get out of this.
Right.
And kept my mind in a good place.
Yeah. Sounds like you got a good mom, man.
Oh, wonderful mom.
Absolutely.
She's a tough mom. Mom from a big family.
Was that conversation that you two had in that moment? Was that like? Would you say that's the most bonding experience that the two of you have ever shared?
Oh yeah, that's it's amazing. It's amazing how you try to get away from your parents, right? You start growing up, you want to live your own life, and you're like, I'm in charge of my own life, and mom and dad, or you go do your thing, and I'm now doing my thing, and then I'll call you when I call you, right? And I'll see you at Christmas.
Yeah.
And and so
true.
The first person you go to, right, is you want your mom.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely, man.
Yeah. So it.
I take your time, buddy. I know it's not easy to revisit these things.
It's not, well, it's amazing where the brain goes,
Yeah, absolutely.
It was nice to have my mom there.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, she helped me a lot. And it's amazing. I'm 25 years old at the time, and you don't want your mom in your life to take care of you.
No, I know.
But then when you go through an accident like that, you want your mom to take care of you.
Yeah.
You only want your mom, so because she says the right things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my dad too. My dad came in and he always said the right things.
Yeah.
And even my uncle. My uncle was he was such a good man. He showed up all the way from Texas.
Yeah.
And he always said the right thing to say.
Yeah.
And it made for those hard days, those hard days where I was looking for something and my uncle would say the right thing or my dad would say the right thing or I had my mom there, so it was really nice having family. This is when people tell you, family family is everything, right?
Yeah.
Family comes first.
Sure.
You know, family and close friends, right? And it's the truth.
Absolutely.
Because the people you turn to when you experience things like this in life, and knowing how long we live, you turn to your family.
Oh, 100%, man.
So that's where
everybody can be there for you in times they're good, but it's who's there for you in that hospital room, right?
No,
you saw who really loves you at that point in time, for sure.
Yeah, no, my mom was great. She would bring a Starbucks coffee to me every morning, and make sure that she was there before I even woke up, you know.
Right.
And there at the end of the day too, to make sure that I was going to sleep with good thoughts and good positive thoughts every day. Yeah. And so that's when I transitioned and made it into Parkwood, and she was there every day. And then I had friends, and so many people just keep showing up every day. It became a very nice thing, and it was very helpful. It was very helpful that a lot of friends started showing up in hospital.
Right.
And so that's where, you know, I started getting into rehabilitation. Yeah. You know, so here I am laying in bed looking down. I'm missing half a leg. I have very little mobility because it's all new. It's a new experience. Right. I feel like, you know, you feel scared.
Yeah.
Because they would have to actually, have to hoist me out of bed to put me in a wheelchair and use a lift and everything like that. And even getting into this safe lift and this hoist, I was still nervous and scared to fall, and you know, I didn't know what was going on, and things changed, right? Things have changed, and so it was such an experience, you know, and to put me in a wheelchair, and then I'm afraid in the wheelchair to fall out, and then looking down and you know, trying so hard to move things. You know, the whole time I was there, I'm trying to move toes, I'm trying to move my foot, I'm trying to move anything. Right. And so they did this test. They did a test, what's called an Asia test. So it's spelled Asia, and it's the American Spinal Cord Injury Association. Yep. And it's a scale that they use to measure a spinal cord injury. So a physiotherapist came in, or I believe it was a nurse initially, and what they do is a cotton swab and pinprick. So they're looking for sensation, and so with light touch, and they're looking for sharp as well too. Right. And unfortunately, I didn't show any of those signs. Right. I had nothing below my injury. It was just dead weight. There was no sensation and no movement. And so it was this where the spinal cord injury was. And so I started going through rehabilitation, you know. And so basically in Parkwood. Parkwood has some amazing, wonderful therapists, and just the nursing staff. It was my home for 3 months. I lived there. It was my home, and you know, the nurses got to know me, and things became very personable. And so that's where I call it my home, because I lived there for 3 months. Sure. And so that whole time I'm being dragged from upstairs to downstairs into the physio gym, and I'm being stretched out. The first time I sat up, I almost passed out because I hadn't sitting up. I've been laying in a bed for weeks. So the first time sitting upright and being held upright, I almost passed out, you know, just the blood rush and everything, you know, just the whole change. And so then family kept visiting, and, you know, then it was just all encouragement. It was all the positive stuff. And, you know, older brother showing me a video of a guy that made it through, you know, and he's going on to do great things and back on his feet, and, you know, and everyone just coming in and just, you know, putting up the good fight, and just coming in with with smiles on their faces and this and that. And so that's where it was tough. It was tough, and that's where family was very great on, you know, keeping their emotions aside from my emotions. Right. And so that's where, you know, I do remember. I remember when my little brother came in to visit me for a weekend, and he wanted to come in with a smile on his face and, you know, positivity and encouragement. Right. And he came in to give me a hug and to hang out for me for the weekend, and it only took seconds, and he just started crying, you know, and so it hurt me. Yeah, absolutely. You know, it hurt me because I wanted to show everyone how tough I was, you know, and that I was okay. Sure. But I'm going to be okay, and I'm okay, and you couldn't do it. Yeah, and you know, and it was tough, you know, because I'm laying there paralyzed. Right. I can't move. Life has changed. You're looking at me. I'm missing half a leg. So it was a traumatic experience for them. Yeah. You know, for all of you, everyone. Right, you know? So, but then we would get through it, right? We would get through it, and then we would enjoy our time at Parkwood, and then we started having some fun, you know. And then we started having some fun at Parkwood. We had a lot of good laughs. There was a lot of tears that ran down my face, you know, in the hospital, but then I started to get my confidence and started to pick myself up again, and my personality started to come back. So it took some time, but it was definitely an experience. But the hardest thing, I think, that which now I do peer support because I want to help people.
Right.
I really want to help people in the same situation because I know exactly what they're thinking. And so when I go in, I don't want to exploit emotions when I go in to do peer support. I want to say the right thing, you know, and just to give them a little bit of hope with everything that's going on because I lived it, you know, and I lived it. And the biggest thing I set myself up for failure was I kept telling myself that I was going to walk out of that hospital.
I saw some of the articles that you sent me, right? That said you were determined to walk out. And
I was...
and there were some pictures of you actually doing, like in a machine or something, doing some walking, right?
So I was determined to walk out of that hospital, you know, and that I was going to walk out those doors with all my therapy. And so the tough thing about that is, unfortunately, that day didn't happen.
Yeah, it's okay, buddy. You did great. You're still doing great, bud. You're still doing great. Take your time. So, at that moment in time when you realized, obviously, it's still tough for you to revisit those emotions.
Reality sets in when you leave the hospital, you know?
Yeah.
The reality set in when you're discharged and you didn't walk out of the hospital like you told yourself you were going to. So then, you know, you get back and, you know, things are different now and I had to find a new place that was accessible.
Right.
And, you know, start learning to live life in a wheelchair. I didn't want to accept that.
Right.
I thought I was going to walk out of the hospital, so now I'm learning to live life in a wheelchair.
Right.
You know, but an amazing thing happened though. When I was in hospital, I have some very lovely friends here in town.
Yeah.
They are so sweet to me, and they're good family friends. And the mother, she's a nurse, and she's the one when I asked her, is there any effective treatments for spinal cord injury? She jumped all over it to find something for me.
Right.
And so she went online and researched everything. And so she came across a study.
Okay.
She came across a neural stem cell study. And it just actually got approved in Canada. Prime Minister Harper approved it at around the same time as my accident.
Really?
So that was like, oh, that's interesting. So when she came to me, she said, that she told me, unfortunately, there's no effective treatments right now that we know of.
Right.
But Canada just accepted a stem cell study for spinal cord injury. Would you be willing to participate if we send your images, you get accepted? And so I was very vulnerable at that time. I wanted anything to get out of this situation.
Right.
So I said, yeah, absolutely, I'll take it.
Yeah.
So sure enough, she got all my images together. She got everything. She started corresponding with one of the representations from the clinical trial here in Canada, and started getting my images over. And then sure enough, they sent all my images over to Zurich, Switzerland, because that is where Professor Armin Kurt resides out of, and that's where he is the leading investigator in spinal cord injury.
Okay.
He is the one that has developed the bioengineering approach when it comes to neurological injuries caused by trauma disease. And so he's trying to repair the central nervous system. And so this is all conducted in Switzerland. The sponsor and the company that has the patent for the cells that they're using comes from California, Stem Cells Inc.
Right.
So everything was corresponding with Stem Cells Inc. and Professor Kurt in Zurich, and sure enough, they got all the images, and then they welcomed me down. Well, first they were originally going to send me to Calgary,
okay,
because they were getting set up in Calgary for the stem cell stuff.
Okay.
And so I'm thinking, okay, Calgary, that'll be exciting. But unfortunately, due to logistics and not being readily available to take in their first patient in Calgary at Foothills Hospital, then Switzerland said, Professor Kurt said, send the patient to Zurich because we want to, move forward with the study.
Right.
So I thought that was going to be great.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm going to Zurich for a stem cell transplant, in the hopes that it's really going to help me.
Right.
And so sure enough, they got all my images and they invited me down to Zurich, Switzerland. They invited me down. I got the phone call. It was before Christmas time in 2013. And so then sure enough, I was on a flight about 5 months after my accident. I was on a flight in January 2014
to go to Switzerland.
To go to Switzerland.
Wow.
And so sure enough, they did all kinds of exams on me, all these invasive exams. They're poking me and shooting electricity through my body and doing all these exams and tests I've never even heard of.
Right.
Like you hear of MRIs and x-rays, and they have this thing called CHEPS. It's contact heat evoked potentials. And it's like, well, what's that? It's a little cube that gives you, I believe it's 42 or 52 degrees of heat that signals, different cells and within the nerves, for a response for their data. you know, and then we do the EMGs, we do the urinalysis, the blood work, physical examinations, just everything. It's a full-blown week of assessment.
Was that week? Was that tough for you? Like
it was physically tough.
I bet,
because I was from room to room to room to room. You leave as much as you lose initially a lot of your dignity with a disability like this. When I was in the hospital at Parkwood, you know, like clothes are on and off, and you know, things aren't working. Your bladder, bowel, sexual function, things are different.
Right.
You know, so nurses are taking care of these things, and so then going to Zurich, Switzerland, it was the same thing. You leave your dignity at the door, you go in, and now you're bouncing from room to room to room, clothes being pulled off, being poked and prodded and tested and being checked everywhere, right? So and so it was it made for a very long day. I slept good at the end of the day, I'll tell you. I slept good. So then, sure enough, after all these exams, and got to enjoy some nice days before and after being the hospital visits.
So there was some enjoyment.
There was some enjoyment. They set you up. They get you in the weekend before, so you get to enjoy the entire weekend before you start your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of aggressive, invasive tests and assessments. You know, because it takes a lot for they're very, very precise when it comes to calculating their data. They don't want any gray area, so they have tests that the majority of the world has never seen.
Wow.
You know, like they're trying to implement new things with the technology that we have to really take a look at the central nervous system, which is very complex.
Yeah.
And so it was a really good experience. Actually, I started acquiring some knowledge here.
Sure.
You know, I started doing my research and trying to figure, you know, what they're doing here, and so what Professor Armin Kurt is doing. He's a neurologist and became a professor and a leading investigator on spinal cord injury, and he's doing stem cell transplants from rat studies, and now he's doing it on human patients. So what made it exciting was when I went home after doing all these assessments, I didn't take the surgery initially. It was just to be assessed to see if I met all the inclusion criteria.
Right.
Well, sure enough, I went home, and that's where just before Christmas, they called me to accept me into the study.
Wow.
So and then they said if I'm still willing to voluntarily participate, even knowing that there's a lot of risk.
Right.
They're going to open me back up. There's risk of coming out worse. There's risk of death. But knowing that I was the 9th patient of 12 in the world to do this, I asked, well, how did the other 8 patients turn out?
Of course, yeah.
They're all doing fine.
Wow.
So I thought, I really want to do this. You know, I really want to do this. So I showed up in January, and so then we did all the assessments again. And then it was going to be time for surgery, you know, so for them to cut me open and to
in the back.
Yeah. And so they have a psychologist as well too. You got to make it through the psychological exam as well too. So he.
How was that?
It was interesting.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they had the very odd questions. You know, and it's not to catch you, not to like self-incriminate you in a lie or anything.
Right.
But to get information about, you know, your personality, the way you think, and to see if this is something, you know, that you're going to be able to accept. Right. You know, the outcome being that there could be nothing, absolutely nothing, that this is just for research. Right. This is a research study. This is phase 1. They're looking at safety. Right. They want to make sure that you're not going in thinking that you're going to be walking out, right? Right. And then and that doesn't happen. Right. And then you go into depression. Right. So the psychologist is protecting the study, but protecting the patient as well. Absolutely.
To check their expectations.
So he asked all the questions. So at the end of all the questions and him getting to know me, he asked me, you know, so what made, he basically said, so why do you really feel you would want to do this, you know, to participate in the study? So I said, well, you know what? I understand my situation, and I'm the type of person, from being a proud, you know, tough guy, that I said I would take one for the team, you know, knowing that this is for research. Right. And so he said, you take one for the team, eh? I said, I would take one for the team.
Is that what you're really doing, though, or did you still have hopes of kind of walking again?
You know what?
Or what were you thinking? Like, were you telling him what you thought he wanted to hear?
No, I said it knowing that, because I was given all the information. Right. And
Good
so
and
then listening to the other 8 patients, I was in the hopes to receive neurological change. Right. And for this to hopefully be a treatment, I didn't know how long it's going to take or this and that, but to be able to participate in it, it was then my pride. You know, that I traveled all the way from Canada, being one of the first to participate in something like this. I thought, this is pretty cool, you know, like I definitely have the tough mind and everything,
Sure.
and confidence to be in something like this. So I want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll definitely take one for the team, is what I said, because
your new boxing way, away, right?
Because it's just boxing mentality.
Yeah, sure.
And so he smiled and kind of laughed about that and thought, you know, a little clever answer. Right?
Yeah, it was. I think it's a clever answer as well.
And so then we went from there, and then sure enough, psychologist spoke with Professor Kurt and said, yeah, he's ready to go.
Good.
And so then it was getting all prepared and prepped for the surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember laying in a bed once again. It seems to be a thing when it comes to spinal cord injury.
Sure.
You're going to be laying in a lot of beds.
Yeah.
And I was laying back, and my mom was there. So my mom had come with me. I brought her down as with me, and Stem Cells Inc. was very generous. They paid for everything. Paid for my mother to be there. Paid for me to travel to Switzerland and be set up in the hospital initially for the surgery. And we spent a month and a half there.
Wow.
Yeah,
a month and a half there.
And so
how long were you? 3 months in Parkwood?
I was 3 months in Parkwood.
3 months in Parkwood and a month and a half in Switzerland.
And then a month and a half, and then 2 months out and about, and getting used to life here in London.
Yep.
And then off to Switzerland for a month and a half.
Wow.
So it was very quick.
Yeah.
Very quick with my disability.
Yeah.
So then I remember the last thing was I was laying in bed. And my mom was there, because before I went into the surgery room, so obviously Mom was there and just saying, that this is everything, right? Like this is going to be life changing.
Yeah.
This is and this and that, and so she started crying over top of me and just because I was going in for a surgery. You know that any surgery that things can always go wrong.
Right.
So Mom was there, and so. I told her everything was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so I was.
So you were comforting her at this point.
I was comforting her, and I felt pretty good. I'm like, let's do this,
Yeah.
And so sure enough, got carted in, and boom, don't remember anything after that. Instead, I wake up to a wonderful, beautiful nurse in Switzerland, and they have a nice, calm, like post-surgery room, where it's like a little hotel,
right?
And here she is bringing me a nice coffee, so I can drink through a straw, because I had to lay on my back.
Right.
And to eat, because I had been under for whatever amount of time on anesthesia and everything like that. So it was nice. It was comforting. Actually waking up, and so my mom took a picture, which we'll have to share. Is I give the thumbs up when I wake up. I still look a little bit daisy, but I give the thumbs up. Like I'm good,
Yeah.
And so then, and so that's when that was a big game changer for me with my disability. Big game changer was that stem cell transplant for research. As much as you don't see me up and walking right now, it was an absolute game changer, because right now they are moving forward with the study.
Yep.
And so as a result of the stem cell transplant, which everyone I'm sure is curious about, I actually have received some neurological change actually as a result of the stem cell transplant.
No shit.
So as much as this is phase 1, they put it as phase 1, phase 2, because it's the safety phase.
Right.
They got to show that they're now adding volume to the spinal cord. So what they did is they had an orthopedic surgeon open you up. So a bone doctor opened me up.
Yep.
He removed some back of the spine bone, and then the neurosurgeon goes in, and now he's looking at this little spinal cord that's no bigger than the width of your pinky finger, and now he's looking at this thing, and he's going to go in there with just his eyes and his hands, and he's going to cut open that central nervous system, expose it to the world, which was the biggest scare, that central nervous systems, blood-brain barriers are not supposed to be open to the world.
Right.
He opened it up to the world, and then he did 4 injections above and below my injury site of my spinal cord.
What did he inject?
So he injected what's called neural stem cells. So these neural stem cells, which people ask me, they were originally taken from a 20-week old aborted fetus.
Okay.
And so they took the cells from the brain of this 20-week-old aborted fetus.
Okay.
And then they clarified them, cultured them, and then grown millions. That Stem Cells Inc. has the patent for.
Wow.
And why this child was aborted, I don't know. This was never discussed.
Right.
It could have been obviously because of health complications. It wasn't like, everyone's like, for someone to give up a child for research. No, that's not the case. I'm sure it was because of whatever complications, this and that, and then it was to be asked for research.
Sure. And they're just taking the best of a bad situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the reason why they do that too, because I've asked Professor Kurt and I've done my own research, is why don't they use the cells from our own bodies?
Yeah.
Well, as we age, so do our cells.
Right.
So it's no longer practical to use cells that are aged to be put into a very complex area, being our central nervous system, and to get them to work basically, because they've aged. So they don't have the excitability as the cells from a fetus or from a young child. So those cells are they have a lot of excitability. So there's a better potential for them to go into the central nervous system and to regrow new nerves, new tissue, and to remake those connections, and to make those motor neuron and those sensory neuron connections again. So that's why they decided to use these cells. And then it's like, well, then why also can you not do this through intravenous injection, inject the cells in the blood and do this or that, or why does it have to be a surgery, and why right at the location? Well, that question was answered as well too. Professor Kurt, from all of his research and his studies, he believes by putting the potency of the cell transplant directly above and below the injury site, the dead tissue, because it has a better chance for survival as well too, and also you're putting all the cells in the area of the damage, and you're not worrying about losing cells or anything like that. So you just put an abundance of cells right into that area. And then they said, well, why didn't you put it into the damaged tissue area? Well, that's a good question for a lot of people, is because the dead tissue would not be great for survival for new cells. The new cells still need to survive and eat, so they're better harvested when they're put into just above and below the damaged tissue, which is now a dead tissue. It's best above and below into live tissue, because then they can use that as a fuel source to help start migrating into the damaged tissue area to rebuild tissue. So
it's kind of mind blowing.
It's very interesting, actually. So that's what they call. This is what's called bioengineering, because they're using biological tissue and cells and engineering it to rebuild things. So it's very exciting.
So what did you notice? Tell me. You said that you noticed some change. What kind of things? How did you notice this change?
So the biggest change, which is an ultimate win for someone with a spinal cord injury, because there's a lot of pain when it comes to a neurological injury. When it comes to a spinal cord injury, a lot of spinal cord injuries can comment on pain. So there's going to be the physical pain, but there's also going to be what's called the neuropathic pain. So that's where I felt like my right foot, as much as I can't feel anything below my injury, my right foot in my head felt like it was on fire constantly. Like my foot was burning. Like it felt like needles and burning sensation.
And this wasn't the foot that you lost.
And this isn't the foot I lost. So this wasn't a phantom limb experience. Because people have asked, do you have phantom limb pain? No, I don't. And I don't because I think it's because I'm paralyzed.
That's what I
don't have phantom limb pain. But on my right foot, the foot that I do have, it was always on fire. I would have to massage my foot before I go to bed because of the pain. And so then I had a lot of physical back pain as well too, a lot of pressure in my lower back, and these are pains that I technically can't feel, but my brain is telling me that I have these pains. So a great result from the stem cell transplant is that within about 3 months I fell right off the pain scale.
No kidding.
I showed up and now I'm pain free. I don't take any medication for pain, nothing. I'm a pain-free spinal cord injury disabled man. So that's for me, I think, is a win.
Absolutely.
But then moving forward, I came home here to London and I started advocating for the technology that I saw in Switzerland. They have this thing called a Locomat. It's a walking machine. Well,
is that what I saw?
So that's what you saw. So sure enough, we learned in science once again, and they did it on a cat study with spinal cord injuries, that by moving the lower body to try and make those connections, it encourages neurons to reconnect, to make new pathways to the brain, to encourage movement.
I see.
So to encourage voluntary movement as well too. And so
so that's a fake it till you make it kind
fake it till you make it.
Literally though,
So that's where I came home, and I wanted to be in walking therapy because I just took a stem cell transplant, and my physiotherapist, who is an absolute wonderful woman here in town that I was seeing outside of the hospital. She has an amazing facility called New Physio here in London, and she said, let's get these cells moving, So we worked in the parallel bars, and then sure enough, Parkwood was looking and investing into getting donations for the walking technology, this local mat that I've been talking about from Switzerland.
Wow.
Well, sure enough, Chris Hadfield came into town, our astronaut Chris Hadfield.
He went to the Sioux too, right?
I believe he's been all over. I believe he's originally from Sarnia, I think it is.
Okay, he's from Sarnia. I think he had a relative that went to Sioux College.
Yes. So he's a good so he's a good old Canadian.
Right. I saw the books there.
Yes,
so I was wondering
I got the books and the signatures and got to meet him because they wanted Parkwood asked if I would demonstrate the new local mat that they've gotten for Parkwood for rehabilitation. Well, obviously I jumped all over it because also I was going to meet Chris Hadfield.
Right. Yeah.
And so I got to show off the local mat to Chris Hadfield, and we did actually a very inspirational video for the Parkwood Foundation. So you can find that on YouTube. There's a St. Joseph Locomotor Training Gives Hope video on YouTube that we developed to raise awareness and funds towards the technology. Sure. And then we did the convention here in town with Chris Hadfield, and it was great. You know, he gave his big speech in Parkwood. We got to show off the video, and I got to be a part of that, and it was a wonderful experience for me. And to know as well too that I've taken the stem cell transplant. So now with all the education from Switzerland, I got talking to the right people at Parkwood as well too, and discussing why we need this technology. And now Professor Dalton Wolf and a team of wonderful people at Parkwood are actually designing what's going to be the locomotor training protocol for persons with neurological injuries caused by trauma or disease that inhibits them with mobility. Right. So that's where now they're designing a protocol that will actually be used internationally. That's all coming out of here in London. This will be used across the map. This protocol, so that when someone gets injured and they come in, it's like this is the therapy you're going to experience now that we have worked everything out. So very exciting.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, no. So it's been an amazing roller coaster. It's been a very educational roller coaster. I've met a lot of amazing people. I've gotten back into sports.
I saw some
from
of
the
those.
photos. So I got into some throwing sports right away. So we do seated throwing sports, and I met a lot of amazing people in the disabled community as well too. And so that's another comment where I wouldn't change certain things in my life because I've met some people I've never would have met before. And the disabled community means a lot to me now.
Absolutely.
It means a lot to me because I've just met so many wonderful people and families, and it just seems to be its own little world. And I wouldn't have gotten to experience that had I not been disabled. Because you're not welcomed into the disabled community unless you're disabled.
Sure, fair enough.
It's a tough crowd.
Fair enough.
And so I did some throwing sports and did some throwing in Brampton for shot put and discus, and it was very exciting. And then I wanted to try more sports, and then I got on with the sledge hockey team here in London, the London Blizzard sledge hockey team. And sure enough, I got in at the right time and won a championship with the team, which is very exciting, and it was very, very challenging. For spinal cord injuries, it's great. Sledge hockey is very challenging, but when it comes to the Olympic level, there's not a lot of spinal cord injuries on the Olympic team. Because of you got to have that trunk stability. And so on the Olympic teams, it's usually amputees and spinal bifida and cerebral palsies that that have good trunk strength and a bit of leg strength because they're sitting in that sled, and it's a pretty aggressive sport actually. So unfortunately, I had to slowly slip away from sledge hockey because I have bad shoulders from boxing for so long. I have a shoulder that keeps just dislocating, so I really have to take care of this shoulder now that my arms are my legs. So, So then I got into some hand cycling. I got to try hand cycling, which I'm starting to think that's going to be my summer sport. I really enjoy hand cycling.
What is hand cycling?
So hand cycling, there's different bikes, but the hand cycling racing is where you lay right out, your feet in front of you, and you're like laying right down low to the ground. It's a tire in front of you and two tires behind you, and it's all propelled by arms.
Really?
So, all by arms. And so, and these bikes are light.
Your arms are going to be huge.
Oh yeah, that's what I was told. If you want to get your arms big fast,
do that.
Go hand cycling. So it was actually, I enjoyed it. And then I also got into this winter. I got accepted into a nice program here in London. That's the nice thing about the disability, though. There's a lot of wonderful foundations out there. There's a lot of things to help persons with disabilities.
Good. That's good to hear.
So it is good to hear. So So that's where I also got into a program here in London. I got to Boulder Mountain for the London Track 3 skiing. And so I got into the downhill skiing, actually, the mono skiing. So you sit in a little bucket, and it's these sports are wild. It's completely competitive.
Yeah.
You know, when you see these disabled athletes, they compete harder than able-bodied athletes.
Like
they take it very serious.
Yeah.
They have an eating regime. They have fitness for that sport. You know, things are changed differently with equipment.
Right.
But it's an intense sport, and sometimes it makes it more intense when you have equipment. There's more chances of bigger injuries.
Right. Well,
you're lugging around all this stuff now.
Yeah.
Right?
So the downhill, were you ever afraid that like you might get into another? Has that ever crossed your mind?
No,
you might get into another.
We make the jokes, but I've heard stories. I've heard stories of a paraplegic going out and doing like skiing and then ended up breaking their neck and then taking a higher spinal cord injury.
Oh my God.
Which then they lose the mobility of their arms, right? And so I was like, whoa, So right now I've been doing things conservatively,
right?
But I do like sport.
So you're not the same old young Lee that just you're taking things a little more cautious.
Taking things a little bit more easier and protecting my body, obviously, because obviously don't want to make things worse.
Yes.
But the sports are great. The para sports and just the community itself, a lot of amazing people.
Good.
So that's where I encourage. I love bringing my friends and family out to see this stuff and meet people.
Yeah.
It's just a great community.
Awesome.
And so that's where going from being an able-bodied, and then acquiring a disability like this and being in a wheelchair. So that's where now I've become a very big advocate for community accessibility.
Sure.
Because that's the only thing. Something that's very frustrating now being in the wheelchair is being reminded that you're in a wheelchair.
Right.
So it hurts my own pride, and so going back out in the community, and it's like, okay, I'm back in the community. I got this beautiful wheelchair accessible truck that I love to show off.
Right.
I got a nice Ford F-150, and I did a Superman theme to the truck. It's a nice blue. Yeah. It has a nice wheelchair lift and everything for me to get in. And once I'm in, you have no idea that I'm disabled.
Right.
Because it doesn't scream disability. It's not like it used to be.
Right.
It's not like you're getting this big old clunking van.
Right.
It's now you can have whatever vehicle you want, and we'll make it accessible.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's been that was a life changer as well too. Once I got that vehicle, I would just go and drive just because I can.
Right. Sure.
And I was told that from a very close friend here in town, Mark Edison, who was our Paralympic curling athlete, and also a good friend of his as well too, that I've become friends with, Mike Monroe.
Right now.
These two guys came to visit me in hospital actually as well too, that I have a lot of respect for. It was very nice that they came to visit me in hospital, because and that's why I really enjoy showing up for others that are going through a similar situation.
Like a pay it forward kind of
thing.
Pay
it forward kind of thing. It's that's the life fulfilling part. So if anyone is looking for their life purpose, it truly is to help others, so that everyone can have a full life.
Sure.
A full and healthy and good life.
Yeah.
We got to help each other.
Absolutely.
Because happiness is a good thing.
It is.
It's absolutely a good thing. So
was there times? I mean, I love your attitude and I love your positive mindset. Was there times when you were sitting there? I mean, where you thought like, geez, I can't go on, or did you not even allow yourself to go there? Because I know that obviously, I lost a buddy to suicide. Has there been anyone that you've known that's maybe tried to take their own life, or anything that's gone to that negative side of it?
Through peer support and going into the hospitals and the stories, I have met some people that...
Were they in a dark place?
They're in a very dark place.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, right? It's for me, my mind didn't let me go into that dark place.
Right.
Because I want to be tough.
Yeah.
It's my pride.
It's your purpose almost.
It's like when I call myself, I'm a manly man and I'm tough. And, it's my pride, right? And I want to get through this.
Yeah.
And so that's what helped me get through it.
Yeah.
But as we know, that some people don't have that mentality, right?
Right.
They don't have a tough enough mind.
Yeah. Or they could have mental illness on top of the disability
that too,
as well, right?
And depending on their life situation, I had a very good life situation before I went into the disability. Once you had a really bad life situation,
or a bad support system, your support system sounded unbelievable.
Support system and everything, and that's why it breaks my heart sometimes to go in to do peer support and there to be no family, visiting.
I can't imagine, man.
It takes a lot of energy out of my day.
Do you feel like you bond a little bit more with those people because you come from such a strong support system?
I stay that much longer.
Yeah,
and I give them all my contact information.
Yeah,
I offer to take anyone for a ride in my truck if the nurses are willing to, you know, discharge them for the day or a couple hours or whatnot. And
good for you.
So
man.
so
it's amazing.
It's exciting because this young father in Chicago, actually, I'm going to talk about Cole Thomas.
Okay.
He's hit over 12 million or something views because he posted a video which right at the beginning when he was first disabled and in hospital, the very first week, he put a video up telling everyone he doesn't want to be, you know, paraplegic and he's going to get out of this. He's got 2 young daughters. He wants to walk them down the aisle. He's got a loving wife, everything. And so he put, you know, his cry for help online. He reached out.
Yeah.
And the world responded.
That's awesome.
And sure enough, I ended up getting in contact with his wife and with Cole.
Yeah.
And we got talking because he was asking for anyone that knew of, you know, the treatments and the doctors and the right people to talk to. But so these are the people that I know.
Right.
So, I'm like, that's me.
Yeah.
So, but I'm thinking this man needs some education. You know, he doesn't know obviously that there is life in a wheelchair because if he is dealt with the cards that you're going to be in a wheelchair for some time.
Right.
That you know you can still be a father, you can still be a husband, you can still drive. You know.
Right.
He was very very emotional. He didn't know about any of these things.
He sounds a lot like you when you were going through that.
I got to tell you, it was an experience.
Yeah.
When I showed up, I told his wife, I said, you know what? I live in London, Chicago. I love Chicago. It's my favorite city. My uncle played for Chicago Blackhawks.
No shit.
And now he's a pilot for American Airlines.
Wow.
It's very exciting. And he's been a great uncle to us and this and that. And I really enjoy Chicago. So I said, you know what? It's not that far. I'll drive and I'm going to come visit. I'm going to meet your husband and we're going to chat. You know, we can chat, we can cry, and we can get through this, you know. I can give you as much advice and education, anything you want to ask, bounce off me, ask me everything. Yeah. So I drove. I woke up the one morning and I drove in the Superman truck, and I drove all the way up to the Chicago Rehabilitation Hospital in Chicago.
Good for you.
So I showed up, and I got to meet Cole. And when I saw Cole, it oh man, it was. It's like looking at myself.
Yeah.
This guy actually looks like me.
Really?
He even has the same scar over his eye.
No way.
Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. You know, like, so it was like looking at myself.
Wow.
You know, and so it reminded me a lot about my experience in the hospital.
Yeah.
So I'm in there, and so I get joking, and you know, and build a rapport with him and his wife, and his wife initially she didn't want to be around him. She was just so upset and really upset and her just broken for the situation.
Absolutely.
So once I got talking with her, and then she came in and sat with her husband, and we got talking, and you know, started putting things together, and so we had a good laugh, and then you know, I checked him out, and sure enough, though, from everything I've been learning and seeing, you know, I started feeling his legs, this and that, and asking him to move things. Yeah. I've been doing a lot of therapy, a lot of the physio. I listen to all these terms, and I listen to what they're looking for, and the muscle firing, and this and that. And you know, they have things where they call it the gas pedal, which is called, it's your dorsiplantar flexion. So plantar flexion, planting down, and dorsiflexion coming up. And that's a test that they do in Switzerland to look for any of that control, because that's the furthest part of the body. Well, the toes is, so they look for any toe movement, but also that, some ankle movement. So I, you know, just not telling him what I'm doing, I'm just asking him to do these things for me, and so I'm just checking his legs out, and so I'm starting to feel some potential. And he's a week into his injury, and so then I'm thinking, so I don't know how to say it, because I'm not a physiotherapist, I'm not a doctor. Right. So I just tell him, I just say, oh, you know, you should probably have a physio, because they told him he was a complete injury, and that he was never going to walk again. Right. And so I told him that maybe he should potentially get, I stepped aside and I spoke to a therapist or a nurse and asked the nurse if they would get the person that does the Asia tested, reassess him. Right. Because I really believe he's an Asia B, which means you're an incomplete injury, that there's a lot of, you know, nerves that have survived the accident. Okay. And so sure enough, they, after we visited and I shared my experience, and then I told them, you know, you need to put up the good fight in therapy. It's going to be tough. Yeah. But I gave them all the science behind why you got to get standing, why you got to get moving, and rebuilding connections, and everything with neurology, and gave them as much education as I possibly could in that day. And then sharing my experience in a wheelchair in my truck. Yeah. And I also played it down a bit, saying, you know, because he's looking at me in a wheelchair, and he's like, I don't want this guy, you know, coming to visit me. He's in a wheelchair, and he's been in a wheelchair for a couple of years now, and he's trying to tell me that I'm going to be the one to make these gains and this and that. Right. So I was saying, you know what, my injury is every injury is different.
Yeah, sure.
So yours was, I'm just saying that my injury was very damaging to my spinal cord.
Right.
Playing it, that my injury is really, really bad, and it took a stem cell transplant for me to feel anything or move anything.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he's seen some things move
without any kind of transplant.
Without anything.
Yeah.
So I said, that's good. That's that's a good
positive
sign.
thing. Sure.
You want to keep working on that,
Yeah.
and you're going to have to work hard in therapy. Well, sure enough, they reassessed him. After I left, they reassessed him. They found out that he's an incomplete injury. He started working very, very hard in his therapy, and 7 months later, he's walking.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
and now he's an inspirational man. Him and his family and everything they've been through, and he got to walk out of the hospital, and he had his 2 little daughters, and it's amazing. Well, absolutely amazing.
Buddy, you may not have gotten to walk out yourself.
Yeah.
You helped someone else.
Yeah, so
huge.
it was. It felt really good, and if there's anything I said that potentially helped as much as this guy worked, and he had the mentality from day one. He knew he was gonna, walk, and he put in the hard work.
Yeah.
So if there's anything, that potentially I said or just showing up helped him.
I bet it did.
Yeah,
I bet it did.
But the only sad part of that story is there was so much, hype and excitement with the Thomas family.
Yeah.
That then I was asked by a nurse, because she was hearing about that I went to Switzerland and the stem cell. She asked if I would meet this young man at the end of the hall. That he's a war veteran.
Yeah.
Young man. He's in his 20s, and he had broken his neck.
Oh shit.
And so sure enough, here I am wheeling across the hospital floor, and I go into a room, and this young man is paralyzed from the neck down.
So you go from a really exciting.
You go to an exciting,
to
and this is the thing too is the quadriplegic, when they lose the hand function.
Yeah.
All they would just take back their hand function. That's it.
Right.
But then the paraplegic wants their legs back.
Right.
Or actually some paraplegics, depending on the age of the injury, they would just take back 100% bladder and bowel function.
Right.
And still stay paralyzed.
Right.
And then for someone that has movement in their legs, well, they just want to walk, right? So it's always a different level.
You just want that one little piece.
That little piece more, right? Depending on your situation and how high up the injury is. So going into this room, he was quadriplegic from the neck down, and it was a very sad story. He was with a friend, and the parents always told you, if you ever get tired driving and you're with your friend, you switch drivers. Well, sure enough, he got tired driving. He pulled over. They switched drivers. His friend fell asleep at the wheel.
Oh my God!
Rolled the car, and where the car got crushed was the passenger side, and he broke his neck, and he's quadriplegic, And so it's very tough. It's very tough for me to now. For me, I can relate more obviously to the paraplegic, and I try to say all the right things, but then with the quadriplegic, I'm very, 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 very careful.
Yeah,
because I'm so worried to exploit that emotion and to set someone up false hope. I don't like doing that. Yeah, and so I shared the information on what's going on in the studies, and so they want to get in touch with studies as well too, which is a great experience.
Sure.
It can potentially help in ways, but not even all the ways to be walking, but just help in the psychological ways of knowing that there's the hope and that you're experiencing this, you're meeting new people, you're traveling around, it takes the mind off things. Right. And so I gave a lot of education and everything, and a lot of excitement, and this young man, he got a lot of education, and I hope he's taking it and doing really well. And his father was an amazing man, just a good, tough dad, and he was right there by his side. But when I left and drove home, I fall apart,
Yeah. Well, why? Just because of his situation, you went from.
It takes a lot of energy on me to do it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm doing so well now, and my experience is like no other. Right. I've been to Switzerland 8 times now. Wow. I'm playing all the sports. I'm working out again, drinking coffee, hanging with the guys. Look at what you've done here. Playing around on my truck to do as much as I possibly can, and work on the truck, this and that, and to get back into life and to be happy again and be in control of my life and my emotions. And so it's just tough. It's tough to go in to do the peer support and to see someone that's worse off, like a quadriplegic. It takes a lot of energy on me. Yeah. Because I show up, I want to be strong for them, but then
afterwards you have to.
When I leave, and then I start thinking about these people, because I wish
you could do
that I could fix them.
Yeah.
Because I would be okay staying in the wheelchair if I could fix people.
Sure.
If I could grant them their miracle or give them their wish.
Right.
You know, because I went through all of it.
Yeah.
So when I leave, it takes a lot of energy on me. I have to take a whole day and a half maybe to just kind of, you know, get myself together, because it's tough.
No, I totally understand it, man. I totally understand it, and I think that that's a great quality to have, because you're very empathetic towards others.
Oh yeah.
And you're a sensitive guy. I mean, you feel what they're going through. It's not a bad quality to have in the world, right? Yeah. So you can use all this for good things, and I think that's
the thing. Is it you know, the wheelchair, and that's where now going back to the question, you know, would you change anything?
Yeah.
Well, now at this point, I've also gotten up on stage. I got to do some motivational speaking.
Tell me about some of your motivational speaking.
So this has been very exciting. So I've helped the St. Joseph Parkwood Foundation out. We did I did a motivational speaking engagement. It was a thank you dinner for all the people that selflessly donated here in London. Which I would love to go and knock on every single door and say thank you. Yeah. Because this doesn't just mean something for someone that's disabled. It also means something for the family. Right. When the family's around watching these people get up for the first time, and all the technology that we're using now, it's very, very emotional for the family. Oh, you know, it gives the hope. It gives the family the peace of mind that things are going to be okay, you know? And so that's where they had me on stage, and to share my story, and to also share that, you know, this technology is absolutely wonderful. It's been a blessing. Right. And so I went up and did a wonderful thank you motivational speech engagement here in London.
Good for you.
And it was so successful.
Good.
That everyone has been coming to me and telling me, one, that they want me to have a book. They want me to publish a book.
Okay. About your story.
About my story. Yeah. And the education that I can provide to others with my experience.
Right. To other people that are, so your book in a sense would be when you're done writing it.
Yes.
Someone that just has the unfortunate event such as yourself, and is getting that news that they might not be able to walk again. Exactly. This is a book to give to them right away. I'm going to give away which I'm going to work out with my publisher, which I'm looking to publish with Jerry Roberts and his Black Card Books company. Okay. Because he's got a great team of people, and obviously it's very, very difficult to publish a book. Yes. And so the other thing for me, why the book isn't coming out as fast as what I would like it to be, so that I have started to publish a book. I have started to write. Good for you, man.
I've just put stuff on paper.
Good for you.
I've come up with chapters and everything because the people want it.
Yeah.
Because after a speaking engagement, I get a lineup of people that want to know more personal things about my disability and my experience, and they want to get really in depth into that. Well, then, by knowing that I can put this in the book, and then also knowing that I really truly love helping, doing the peer support and helping the families in the hospital and in the situation, that I think the book would be a great tool to help. That if they had these books, if they had a book where I can even have Professor Kurt make his comments about his study in Switzerland and give some good factual evidence to what's going on, that would be a great start. Absolutely. So that's where working it out, I would work it out with my publisher for the title of the name, but I would like to call it a Paraplegic's Guide to Life on Earth. And I would love to give a lot of my experience, but I would also love to give a lot of the education and things that I've learned, and I'll be speaking a lot with others to get as much education as I possibly can, because having that roadmap in hospital, I think would be such a great thing. Sure. And a more hopeful thing. Yeah. But also like everything. Yeah. Everything from picking a wheelchair, therapists, because
that's a great idea.
Everything. Because everyone's like, how did you get to the point where you're independent? You're cooking and cleaning and doing this. And,
it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, thank you.
I love it.
And well, it starts with an amazing team of therapists. Right. There's so many therapists in my life that I truly, I have the utmost respect for. Yeah. They helped me regain my independence, and they were there at my worst. Wow. Where a lot of my dignity was still out the window and things were still falling into place, and they were there for me, So I had everything from physiotherapists, rehab therapists, massage, athletic therapists, and some of them of which I still kept, pool therapists, all these therapists to really help me, and a psychologist and all this stuff to really help me make that transition, to regain my independence and lifestyle and mentality and everything back. So, that's where I want to make all these comments in the book. And when I was in Chicago as well too, which the Thomas family didn't know, and I'm talking, I said, did you get a lawyer because it was a work vehicle accident and this and that? And, did you get a lawyer and a case manager to help you because mom was running around like a chicken with her head cut off, trying to take care of the girls, trying to show up for her husband every day, and she tried to take care of bills at home and everything, and so it's a mess, and she had no idea, they have no idea that these are the people you have to seek out immediately,
right?
And so that's where I had some really good family members that automatically went and got talking, and boom, had these things happen immediately, and that's a huge transition right there. People don't know this,
right?
Your loved one's lying in bed. It's okay. They're laying in bed outside the doors. You're calling, you're getting connected, and you're bringing in lawyers. And sometimes, they may not work out. So you know what? You fire and you get someone else.
Right.
That works. Right. That has to work for the person that's disabled.
I see.
And not for the family or this and that. It has to be for the person that's disabled.
Right.
It has to work for them.
Well, it sounds like you've got a ton of advice.
Yes.
That you need to share with these people.
Exactly. So that's why I'm going to write. I'm trying to, I'm working on the funds because there is going to be, for financials to invest into Blackguard's books. There is an investment to be made. Yep, sure. Because nothing's for free.
No, have you thought about a GoFundMe account?
That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, that's not a bad place to start.
I'm thinking it may be a potential to go on a GoFundMe to hopefully get these funds to publish this book. Yeah. Because I want the value to be in the book and not what you would pay to get the book. Right, absolutely. The value is going to be in it for the education, and it's really not going to be for the person that's disabled. Right. It's going to be for the family to know what to do for the person that's disabled. Sure. Because when I'm in hospital, the people that are in hospital, they don't want to pick up a book and read about someone that's disabled. They're going through a tough time enough. They got enough things on their mind, but for the family members to have the education and start flipping through the pages, reading what Professor Kurt has to say, reading what the hospital experience, therapist experience, and all this education from others. I'll even interview others that are doing it. And now the new technology that's out there, and things, the do's and don'ts. The good, the bad, the ugly. Yeah. There's so much to comment on, and there's so many interviews I could be doing to gain all this information and insight to really publish a very good, dense book of information to just help others. So it can be passed around and help others, and I think it would be an absolute wonderful thing, and it would actually reach out to the people that I can't reach out to because I'm here in London and I can only drive so far with my truck. I would be willing to do it though, put me on a plane. I've been to Zurich, Switzerland, right? So, but that's where the direction of my disability is heading. Good. I am still working to get on my feet. Yeah. There is also actually new technology with actually a neuroscientist as well in Switzerland. He's now developed a neuroprosthetic device. Okay. So now we take a step from bioengineering to now technology. Okay. So now we're looking at technology, computers. Real logistic stuff. Wow. So now a neuroscientist, Gregoire Courtine, and so you can look this gentleman up. He's from France, and he resides in, I believe now he's in Lausanne, Switzerland, or Geneva, Switzerland. Okay. And he has a laboratory there, and he is one of the scientists that has figured out the cells that are responsible for the coordination from the brain to the spinal cord when it comes for movement. Okay. So he figured out the cells that are responsible for the communication between the two parts. So now he's also figured out that giving back a spinal cord, especially an incomplete spinal cord, if you give it back excitability by shocking it with electricity, so now they're implanting a neuroprosthetic device onto the spinal cord, the lower part of the spinal cord, to shock the spinal cord to send messages from the bottom of the cord back up to the brain instead of the brain down to the spinal cord. Wow. For those connections, for that excitability to take effect, to build new pathways or to encourage pathways that are there that are not very effective, to basically heighten the excitability of these pathways to regain movement and sensation. Wow. And sure enough, it's been successful. Wow. It has been successful. They actually, the first gentleman, Rob Summers in the United States, he was going through the first phases in the pilot study of epidural stimulation. He was a quadriplegic for, I believe, 4 years.
Yeah.
After about 3 days of aggressive stimulation of the spinal cord and rebuilding some pathways, he was able to stand voluntarily and move his hands again. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that's where all of this fun stuff is now in research.
Yeah.
And so everyone's like, how do I get a hold of it? Well, that's the thing. It's in research. There's great things to come.
Yeah.
So that's where the optimism and the hope lies, and that's why I love sharing.
Right.
The facts that there is something, is that they're working on something, and it's not a matter of it's not so much as a matter of how anymore. It's just when. Will this be readily available to the public? And it's not right now.
Is there a lot of red tape that to get to read from research to when it's actually in use? Is there a lot of red tape to go through? Or is
they're starting to break that red tape down.
Good.
You know, because they signed an international agreement that now all scientists and professors are now sharing all their information.
Okay.
It's not a competition. It's not a competition as much.
Good.
It's now you know there's professors and scientists in the United States and here in Canada that are working on the same work.
Awesome.
You know, so they're sharing their ideas. You know, but there's obviously I would say yes, exactly.
Good.
So which is great. It's very encouraging because what's happening now is they're pushing it to the exponential rate of developing a treatment.
Right.
And that's the honest side of it, is that it's going to be a treatment. I know we like to jump to cure, but they want to be conservative when calling it that and say that it's going to be a treatment, but it's going to be a very positive treatment.
Right.
Where if you get anything back, that's very, very positive, right?
Right.
So, and I've seen the very positive effects. One, experiencing the stem cell transplant. Two, also getting the chance to email and talk to Professor Courtine.
Right.
And I'm in the hopes on my next trip to Switzerland to meet Professor Courtine, because I would have a lot of questions to ask him and comments and discuss, you know, publishing this book and get some good factual information to put in this book to allow people then to get some very basic information, then to follow it on YouTube or these podcasts to start following everything else after the book. So that's why this has become very exciting for me.
Awesome.
I've really been enjoying the motivational speaking.
Good.
I truly, truly love doing the peer support.
Good.
As much as it takes a lot of energy out of me, I truly love doing it. It's that's the life fulfilling. You know, that's the life fulfilling part, is doing this to help someone else. I like putting a smile on someone's face, for them to hop in my accessible truck or to show off all the stuff that I'm doing. It's a very nice thing for me. So
good, buddy. It sounds like you're doing fantastic things.
Yeah.
It sounds like you kind of found your purpose in all of this.
Absolutely.
Which is awesome. When it comes to any other stem cell transplants, if you were to go back and get more of those done, would they have any benefit? Or
absolutely.
Yeah.
I hear that question a lot.
Okay.
And so people think, oh, is it a one for all surgery? No. You could take multiple stem cell transplants. You could take 1 million.
So would you consider doing more? Or?
Absolutely. If Professor Kurt develops a treatment with bioengineering, I would absolutely take the treatment. I would take, if it's another surgery or if they figure out other ways to transplant these cells, absolutely.
Right.
Because we're going to see the encouraged growth, and with more cell transplants, the more growth you're going to have, the more efficacy there will be, the more movement, the more independent living. Because that's the thing with a neurological injury, especially spinal cord. So the more you start getting back, that means the more for independence. Yeah. So that's the difference between being dependent and independent. Is obviously having hands actually having the hands, which actually I could be proven wrong with a lot of friends, but for majority, the hand function is the difference between dependent and independent. There's actually some amazing quadriplegics with like bicep movement and shoulders and no hand function that are actually living independently. It's amazing. Wow. Just because of the accessibility and the devices and everything. Yeah. But it is truly majority. The difference is dependent and independent when it comes to hand function. Yeah. So that's why if we can fix hand function for quadriplegics, they can regain their independence. That's a huge step in the right direction. If we can change paraplegia or if we can change bladder, bowel, and sexual function, which we didn't talk too much on. Yeah. But so with bladder function, this is urology. Right. Unfortunately, my bladder is not working like it used to. Of course. After the stem cell transplant, things started to return feeling sensation-wise. Yeah. And I can forcefully try and urinate. It's not encouraged because I put too much bladder pressure in my bladder. Right. So what I do what's called catheterization. Yep. So I use a long tube that you would slide all the way up your urethra to urinate when my bladder gets full. Right. And so we do this on a timely thing. Yeah. Or we do this when you start to feel the urge,
right.
you usually get flush in the face. Your body gives you what's called an autonomic response. So you get an autonomic response where you get a little bit way too flush and you start to feel your heart rate going up and this and that. It's probably because you have to urinate.
Really?
Yeah. So
so you start to learn about other signs.
It's different signs.
Wow.
Yeah, different signs of all the systems. You have your autonomic nervous system, your sympathetic nervous system, all these nervous systems. And so that's where you can feed off these things to start redeveloping feeling kind of how you're taking care of yourself.
Right.
And so like for bowels for me, so going to the washroom is I don't feel when I'm full and I have to go to the washroom when my bowels are full. So I have a routine. I can somewhat go naturally as a result of the stem cell transplant, I believe, and from my aggressive therapy. Because if not, it would be always manual, what's called manual self-disinfection. You put a glove on, lube the fingers, and go in and empty the bowels. So for me now, I still put a glove on and lube, but I stimulate the bowels, and then I can move them naturally, and I can actually encourage the muscles to forcefully empty my bowels. So that's something that it's slowly getting better and better.
So what are the signs to look for? Like, how do you know the difference between whether or not it's a urine, movement or a bowel movement?
That's the tough one. It's going to be different for every spinal cord injury, because of sensation and everything. And so that's where me knowing that I have a bowel routine, I do morning and evening.
So
my bowels are kind of always empty unless I get sick.
Right.
So that's where if I do have an urge, I know it's always bladder.
Right.
It's always going to be bladder because I do my routine.
Right.
So but
then so people don't think about these things.
No, not
right.
Like people don't realize that being in the wheelchair, they just think your legs don't work. Well, no. My bladder, bowel, and sexual function also doesn't work.
Right.
And certain ab function, they think you're paralyzed from the hips down. No, I'm actually paralyzed from the nipples down.
Right.
So my abs don't work. I can't do a full sit-up. I can rotate up a little bit, but I can't do a full sit-up. So stability too, like it's easier for me to fall out of my chair and lose my stability from being a higher level injury.
Right. And
people don't realize that. So that's where the awareness comes in, and that's where I like to talk about it.
Sure.
And then when it comes to sexual function, for me, as a result, I believe once again from the stem cell transplant that it's encouraged a lot of sexual function coming back. Actually, right now I have the most sensation in my genital area and in my groin area that has come back, and so that's the sacral spinal cord that is giving those messages back to the brain.
Right.
And then secondly, it actually took some time before it took about maybe 6 months to a year. It took about 6 months, maybe 6 months after the stem cell transplant before I started getting an erection again. Just even waking up.
Really?
Yeah, when that went.
So you can get erections.
I can get erections. They don't last as long as they used to.
That's okay.
But
there's hope, right?
But that's where we get to cheat, with a disability like this. So we take medication.
Sure.
There's also they can do surgeries and this and that and change things. Like your we take the medication so that things still function normally.
Sure.
And then for me having sensation, it's just a nice thing, obviously, to have more good sensation, because losing sensation on that, it's amazing how, at the beginning and losing that, and you're thinking, moving forward in life and wanting to, sleep with someone and this and that. Sex is a big thing when it comes to the spinal cord injury community. It's a big thing, because we're human.
Yeah.
And we have urges. We love to be intimate.
Yeah.
We love love. We love to be kissed and touched.
Yeah.
So it's a big thing in the spinal cord injury community, is that intimacy and love and everything like that. So that's where now they figured out a lot of things to really help and encourage that, and to figure out ways to, keep things basically, I guess what we would call normal, but it's the new normal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so
everybody's enhancing something.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's been interesting, and also like with the bladder as well too, to make it easier for male or female if they have a lot of bladder complications and UTIs, and they can go in and do surgeries. They can actually redirect the urethra to your belly button, so then you can actually catheterize from your belly button to urinate.
Wow.
So people do see these procedures because it's actually it's more convenient and cleaner for their lifestyle.
Right.
Especially for females. Sure. It makes it a lot easier for females, so that's so that there's a few differences.
Interesting.
There. So yeah, it is very interesting actually. So that's those things. So like I said earlier about what you take back first. Well, for me, yeah, I would take back 100% bladder, bowel, sexual function. I would take that back first before walking, and I would be okay with that.
Really?
You know, or you ask the quadriplegic, they'll say hands immediately. They'll take back their hands, right?
Wow.
So that's why these are big things, you know, and this all gets discussed in the disabled community.
Yeah.
There are some peer support websites like paralyzed.com where you can get some very insightful information about all this stuff and the changes and trying to adapt to the changes, you know, and so you can live your life.
Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, you still want to live your life and and do normal things, and you know, and just I'm dragging my legs around, but I still drive, you know, and all that stuff, and sleep good and shower and just transfer into shower benches and have the accessible devices to cook and clean and whatnot. So you know, and life goes on. So that's why I like to show that off. For people that need to learn some new tricks or to see that yes, you can live life in a wheelchair. Absolutely. You know,
good for you, man. I'm super impressed right now.
Thanks.
It's
amazing. Reconnected.
Yeah, I know. Well, you seem, dude. You always seem like a very positive person, but now there's sort of a twinkle in your eye. You have this passion about what you're doing.
It's
and that's what life's about. Is about living passionately, right?
It's the best thing. It's the best thing that. I wouldn't say it, you know, I can't say it for really anyone than myself. That, you know, I'm dealing with this adversity, but I'm gonna live it to the max.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna use it to my benefit.
Yeah.
You know, that it gets me on stage to help others. It gets me on stage speaking. It's kind of its own little entrepreneurship. You know?
Absolutely.
And learning new things and trying to accomplish all the paraplegic things that I possibly can in a wheelchair. Because I truly believe and know that there will be an effective treatment. I've seen some very, very impressive stuff. I'm part of some very amazing things. And I keep up. I like to follow the American Association of Advancements in Science. I like to read articles. And so there's a lot of underlying hope there. But on the meantime, you still got to live your life. You got to live your life. You got to eat healthy, you know, because things change. Because I lost the mobility, you got to be that much more careful when it comes, you know, to eating, because you could become pre-diabetic and then diabetic more easy with the circulation. You know, because now if your legs aren't moving as much, circulation and blood, it's you know, you got to be conscious of these things now. So that's why therapy is my job. You know, that's why that's the other thing too that I didn't really comment on is I've definitely benefited from having insurance. So having, you know, auto insurance and everything like that, and my work insurance, I'm still an employee of Air Canada Jazz, and I'm on my Great West Life extended healthcare benefit. It's helped me transition into an independent lifestyle. They've helped me pay for my supplies and my medications, my modified vehicle, and this has been a huge part of getting that independence and getting my personality back. So that's where it hurts me when I find out that someone is not covered. So this is a problem. This is a very serious problem, and that's where we need to start opening foundations that can start bringing in a lot of funds to help persons that don't have insurance, so they can have an equal opportunity in this life. Because here I am talking about my truck and my beautiful home,
and they wouldn't have any of that.
And they wouldn't have any of that. So try to put yourself in those shoes, right? That's where I realize why people do become depressed. When you don't get an opportunity to move forward, it will definitely put you in depression. Because it would definitely be tough. So that's why
you have some things that help you to look forward to the day. Right? And if they don't have any of that, it's kind of it can be crippling. Like, you know, and it's just, I can't even imagine.
It's a different experience. It's a different life, a different world being disabled. But it's still, for myself, it's still a good life. But that's why I want to help those who need the help the most. Because the disabled and spinal cord community, we are the minority, but we're the most in need. And so that's why I'll fight for that. And because I have that tough fighting background, I'll be the first one to show up to City Council. And I'll be the first one to tell them we need to start fixing these accessibility needs we have in the community.
So you're gonna take it out of here.
I will. I'm learning to talk with my words and not my fists, right? So, because you know, I've acquired this injury. There's people that are born with cerebral palsy, spinal bifidus. You know why you don't see these disabled people downtown or walking around? It's not accessible for them. So they stay to what they know and
Right.
what's safe. They stay close to home. They go to these private therapy gyms. They go to places that they know is utmost safe and successful.
Right.
And I don't think that's right.
Right.
I'm thinking, I lived to 25 years old, able-bodied.
Right.
And now I'm disabled. I want to go to the pub that I enjoyed going to have
Sure.
a beer at or a coffee shop. Now I can't get in because of stairs.
Right.
I'm not just saying this, you know, and fighting for this for me and saying, oh, us. This helps everyone.
Yeah.
We all age, and also this disability can happen to anyone. So
Yeah.
you would definitely appreciate it if you're an able-bodied person and you own this establishment, and I'm saying, you know, maybe it'd be nice to put a ramp, and it's like, oh, but you're one person. You could be that one person.
Absolutely.
know,
That's
so-
a very good point.
Yeah.
Very good point.
So yeah, and you know what? Just having a cup of coffee, to go in, wheel into somewhere, and there's an accessible washroom, and to feel comfortable, and just to have a cup of coffee, to play on your phone or read
Right.
something, or just even sit there and just have a cup of coffee, it means a lot
Right.
for someone that's dealing with such adversity.
Right.
It means a lot.
Right.
So that's where I definitely advocate and fight for that.
So is that the message that you want to give to? I mean, we've talked a lot about people that have gone or are going through sort of what you've gone through. I mean,
Yeah.
or just starting out. But what about the people that are able-bodied, as you call, you know, someone like myself, right?
Yeah.
What do we need to do better to help?
You need to start sharing the information.
Okay.
Because knowledge is power.
Yeah.
We need to start integrating the disabled community into the able-bodied community.
Okay.
Because we're all on the same team here.
Yeah.
And so that's where, you know, introducing friends to your disabled friends or disabled people you met, sharing the story,
Right.
passing out the information, getting the education and the knowledge out there. And so that's why my next step, especially with if I get this book out there and moving forward, I want to show up to the high schools. You know,
Right.
I want to show up even to the elementary schools. You know, the minds are becoming more powerful at younger ages.
Absolutely.
So they can see what disability looks like.
Sure.
Because I never saw it when I was in elementary school.
Yeah.
I never saw it when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Never saw it when I was in college.
Yeah.
We need to start getting people to show up because you know what? That's another great job for someone that's disabled. To show up and give awareness about disability.
Absolutely.
There's so many accidents, diving accidents. There's so many cycling accidents, motorcycle accidents.
Yeah.
I could have saved my foot had I known I should have been wearing motorcycle shoes or boots.
Right.
But I didn't know.
Do you think you would have if you did know?
That's a tough question.
Yeah, I know.
You know, we all try to go for image and look, right?
Absolutely,
But if there was
yeah.
the education that, if you fall off your bike, there's a highly likely chance and probability that you're going to rip a limb off. It's probably going to be a foot.
Yeah.
This is why you should wear boots. Okay, then I'm finding the best pair of looking boots I could possibly get to wear to be that much more safe, you know?
Yeah.
And so people don't really care until you meet someone in the situation
Right.
or you become in the situation.
Right.
So that's where, for me, my message out is the awareness, you know?
Yeah.
It saddens me that Christopher Reeves, the late Christopher Reeves, which I have utmost respect for him and his family and everything that they're doing in the United States to help the world with spinal cord injury, and also Rick Hansen, our Rick Hansen here in Canada, and that's just our own pride, you know, wheeling across Canada and everything and really bringing the awareness, and that's what it was for, was the awareness. I'm sad to say and to see that we're now in the 21st century and we're still lacking in the awareness and the education and the accessibility when it comes to persons in wheelchairs and people with neurological diseases and disabilities.
Right.
You know, so I'm saddened to see this now that I'm living in the disabled community.
Right.
It's like I thought these guys fought really hard for this stuff. Why am I falling into a disabled community and it's just into a disability and to find out that these communities are still not accessible. New buildings that are being erected and put up are still not complying to accessibility needs.
Right.
And it's like, you're just a minority, you know, we don't get a lot of people that come here.
So you still have to, you almost have to refight the battle that they fought already.
We gotta keep fighting the,
Yeah.
you gotta keep fighting the battle.
Right.
You know, and it's not just for us, it's for everyone.
Right.
So until, you know, people start to realize that this is for everyone and not just for the person in the wheelchair, but for the person with mobility issues, with cerebral palsy or spina bifida or any of these diseases and illnesses and injuries that, you know, affect mobility.
Right.
And we need these accessibility needs. Then once we start hammering that home, then hopefully it just takes one, right?
Yeah.
It's just like the biggest thing when they said when recycling came about, right? And you started bringing out the green or blue bins.
Absolutely.
And so there's the whole street and there's only one guy doing it. And the neighbors are looking and thinking, well, you know, the rest of the neighbors are not doing it, so I'm not doing it. But that one guy shows up and he keeps putting recycling.
Keeps doing it.
And then someone says, you know what, I'm going to start recycling too, right? And then the other person, and then all of a sudden,
The whole street's
then pretty soon, once you get past the 50%, now you're the minority.
Yeah, that's true.
You're now the minority for not putting out your recycling. So it has to start somewhere, and it has started. Let me tell you, it has started. But we got to hammer it home. We got to hammer it home, and that's what I'll fight for.
Well, any last words, Lee? Because this was a great story.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that we reconnected and got to chat about this. And sounds like you're doing great, despite you seem like you are in a better place than when we. I mean, we're both pretty young, right?
Yeah.
But still, I mean,
we're young punks.
You got to figure it out. Yes, I'm sure we still can be at times.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, we seem a little more grown up.
50 years later, we'll be outside beating the hell out of each other.
But do you have any last words for anyone?
My only last words is, like I said, if I can go back in time, I would not change the events that took place to put me in a wheelchair. I am actually I've regained my happiness in the wheelchair. I enjoy helping people, and I know the next step with me being a paraplegic and being the best paraplegic that I possibly can be is to publish this book. And so that's where I'm looking to really push and start acquiring the funds to publish this book and get the message and the education out to absolutely help others. And if that book or my story can help do this, I'm going to keep fighting for it. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in to this podcast, and it's been a pleasure to reconnect with Sean once again. Crazy story. We're going to talk more after the camera.
Absolutely, for sure.
All right.
So one last hard question for you.
Yes.
You have a son or a daughter, and they are about to get on their motorcycle. What do you tell them?
Well, before that day happens, if I was a parent and I had these children, I wouldn't take it away from them, right? Because you don't want to live your life in a bubble.
Yeah.
But there's a great thing of education. There's great programs. There's crash course programs. Everything from the awareness and the safety equipment that can be used on these machines. But then at the end of the day, also to show them what the aftermath of a catastrophic crash is.
Right.
This could be you, right? Just so that they have that in their minds.
Right.
So that they can make
their own informed decision.
Informed decision, so that when they do get on the motorcycle and they saw the videos and they're aware and they got the motorcycle gear, and if it was my son, if I had a son and he got on the motorcycle and decided to take off, he really thought about that speed. He just thought about it. I'm not going to take it away from them. Motorcycles are fun. They're great.
Right.
You can get in. I've heard of accidents where people slip and fall and bump their head in a quadriplegic. So what are you going to tell them? Oh, make sure you don't slip and fall every day? No, you're going to live your life, but you're going to be aware of the risk.
Right.
You're going to be aware that every time you wake up, as soon as you wake up, your day of risk starts. So it's the risk that you're going to be involved in your life by choosing these things, because then it's life choice. I'm going to get a motorcycle. Well, what's the risk of a motorcycle? It's a lot higher than a car. Okay, now I know this.
Yeah.
So that's where the education comes in.
Right.
So that's where families need to start they need to stay closer, and they need to start informing their kids and giving that education for all of these things in life.
Right.
Boats, cars, motorcycles, trains, all this stuff, working, chemicals, even working in a work environment, all these things. So that's where
just know your surroundings.
This is how you be proactive to hopefully prevent these things.
Absolutely.
We want to be proactive with education to hopefully prevent some of these things. So that's what I would that's the path I would take.
I like that. I mean, you're not taking away the choice. You're giving them the choice.
Yes.
But you're going with their eyes open.
Eyes open.
Yeah.
Educated.
For sure. Yeah. And is your relationship with your mom stronger than ever?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, of course. I can share everything with her, and we become best friends, and it's my mom, and it's like, well, it's my mom, I'm not a mama's boy, but this is my mom.
Absolutely.
She's been there for me, and so I love her to death, and she's a tough woman. She had 5 kids, so I got, brothers and sisters.
Yeah,
and a sister.
my mom had 4, so
so big family, so she's a tough mom, and she had to live through it, and we lived through it, and she helped me out a lot. So
awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks so much again, Lee. Yeah. So if you guys have any questions for Lee, I've tagged you on Facebook. You're sharing the link as well. So anyone that wants to reach out, I'm assuming, being such a informative guy, that you're okay with people messaging
Absolutely.
you.
If you send a message, I'll try to get to every single message I possibly can to, and I'm a man of my word, so I'll get to that message, and I'll try to answer as many questions as I possibly can, because that's what I do.
And I hope that, for being able-bodied like myself, a lot of people that are, I'm sure there's people watching that are in similar situations as yourself, and similar situations as me, and I hope that both people got something and realized that it's about coming together, right? Communication. It's all about communication.
You know, like share your story.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, a lot of people will love to hear it, and it may help them get through, you know, through their problems. So share your story.
All right. So thank you very much for tuning in, guys. We will see you Wednesday for our Women Crush Wednesday. And again, reach out to myself, reach out to Lee. We will see you again soon. All right.